Let me put you on game. Don't listen to people who lose or you'll do the same. Stop talking to people who don't give a f*** what you saying. Stop spending your money on weed, go hop on a plane. Stop pointing the finger.
Welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of Wealth podcast. Today we have an awesome guest with us. This is Troy Gordo. That is his last name for you Hispanics out there that might not believe it. He's actually out of Rexburg, Idaho. He owns the Grafitti Barbershop in Rexburg. He's been doing that for the last over 10 years now, and has turned that into a very successful business. So we're here to get your story, kind of see where you started and how you got to where you're at. So where did life start for you? Were you born and raised here?
Yeah, I was actually born and raised in Rexburg. But before we go any further, I want to clear something up. Like, the shop actually owns me.
Okay. We'll have to have you explain that a little bit.
Yeah, but I was born in Rexburg. My parents actually immigrated from Zacatecas, Mexico.
Okay.
Back in the late 70s. I was one of the firstborn.
Really?
In Idaho. I have an older brother and then me.
Okay.
And a few other younger siblings.
And when they immigrated, they came straight to Idaho?
Actually, they went to LA for San Pedro.
Okay.
My dad had a job there working at a fish place at the Port of Call.
Okay.
And, I guess things didn't work out as well as he thought it was. So looking for more work, more opportunity. The Idaho potatoes is what brought him out.
Is what brought him out to Idaho. How do you remember how old he was when he immigrated from Mexico?
I would guess around 16, 17.
Wow.
I don't have these conversations with my dad very much.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, I love hearing that, especially like the stories of people that immigrated to the U.S. because I look back and think about some of these people were super young when they did it, and I don't know if I could do it. Like, it would be so scary for me to think about going off to another country that I've never been to at a young age to just try to work and start a whole new life, not knowing the language. Like, that's inspiring. Growing up, was that inspiring to you?
Super inspiring. And to be honest, growing up, I didn't really understand what my dad was doing for us until I was a little bit older.
For sure.
Growing up, I was a little dumb, like everybody else, in and out of a couple juvenile correction centers. And
really?
And, finally at one time, I was roughly around 18. It hit me. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, my dad literally left his country to give us a better opportunity. Like, and I'm here not even taking advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, it hits. Yeah, when you finally realize it, I think it's hard for the young kids to understand what trials their parents go through to give them the life that they have, whether it's immigrating or not, or even just like working really hard throughout their childhood, not being home as much. As a kid, you think of it as like, my parents are just never home, and you get that. You almost build that animosity against it. But then when you get older and you're a parent, you're like, I understand it now. Like, you got to provide. You got to provide for the family. Your goal is to try to get your family off to a better position. Exactly. And so that's what your parents are doing. So you guys came to Idaho and you were born here in Rexburg?
Yeah, I was born in 82.
Okay.
So I have another older brother. So that's what I'm saying. My parents came around the late 70s because, they had two kids, or one in between myself.
Okay.
Actually, two in between myself. So yeah, it was in the 80s.
Okay. How was it growing up here in Idaho?
Shoot, like, obviously I didn't know any better. I didn't know anything else. So, but now looking back, I'm like, dang, it was kind of hard. I now I understand a little bit why I cleaned to the Hispanics a little bit more,
Yeah.
Sat with the Hispanic group, the five of us.
Yeah. There's not a ton of, well, now, and I feel like it's getting more and more Hispanic population.
Well, in the 90s,
it wasn't a ton.
Like, you could count the amount of Hispanics.
Yeah, so you guys stuck together, especially being in Rexburg. Like, Idaho Falls is a little bit different, but even Rexburg was probably even smaller community. Yeah, was like high school, going to school, was school your thing? Did you enjoy going to school?
Actually, school was not my thing. Like, it was a hard thing for me. Like, ever since I can remember elementary, I always had like special classes, I guess. I would say, because they said I was bilingual, so I didn't comprehend stuff very well. So I was always put in a special class, and I remember in like high school, I only had 12 credits as a senior, you know.
Really?
So at my last year, I remember my counselor's like, well, listen, Troy, like here's a couple of movies, like, you know, there's a room right here, there's a TV with a VCR in there, and just, you know, watch some of these career movies. You
Oh,
know?
really?
Yeah, so definitely school was rough, you know.
Yeah.
It was something that, and honestly, I just kind of felt like I was dumb, you know.
Really? Do you think it was just because like they were putting you in these special classes that had any kind of impact on you? At the time, did you think anything of it?
No,
Not really.
I really didn't. You
Yeah.
know, I don't remember feeling like I was different until about high school.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's, you know, you're Mexican, you're Hispanic, you know, like you're kind of slower, so we're gonna do these special classes for you.
What was your at like high school? Did you have a plan for what you wanted to do after high school?
So during high school, again, that was kind of the rough patch. So no plan. I actually am like, I can't even believe that I'm at where I'm at because
Yeah.
of what I was doing at the time. So,
Really?
so yeah, after, like I said, after about 18, is when I was like, all right, it's time for a change, you know?
When in high
for
school,
a better
you said you spent
situation.
like some time in the correction facilities and stuff with that kind of your younger years, like 15, 16?
Yeah, it started about 13, 14, you know, junior high.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just stupid stuff like, you know, theft at the local grocery store. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, you're kicking it with people
Yeah.
that, you know, my crowd was a little more into like the gang stuff and wearing big pants and getting tattoos when they were 13, 14.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
thinking they were cholos, you know.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about it because it's so with business. What I've realized with business, and it correlates to everything, but you're a product of your environment. You know, those that you kind of surround yourself with, no matter how much you want to be different, like you will fall into the whatever everybody else is doing because you're a product of your environment. So with business, it's like I always tell people, if you want to be successful, you got to start hanging around other successful people to learn what each other are doing and to have that
Exactly.
support system. And so it's the same thing. And that's why I think that, you know, some of those inner cities, those kids, it's not that they want that life. It's just, that's their environment. And,
Well,
and
and
they
that's
know
what
no-
I cling to. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I was one out of maybe 10 is Mexicanos.
Mm-hmm.
So where did I feel more comfortable with them?
Yeah.
What were they doing? The exact same things I was doing.
Yep.
You know, what were their parents doing? The exact same thing my parents were doing.
Yep.
Working, you know, their agricultural job.
Yeah. You didn't know any, and it's hard because you didn't know any different.
Yeah.
And what are you supposed to do? Be the one odd Hispanic out that doesn't,
Yeah.
do it. It's like you're always going to want to
You're
go
just
where you
there.
feel comfortable. Yeah. So I totally get it. But
And then our communities, like, you know, like my dad moved us out of a trailer park to another little town called Thornton. And, you know, my tíos, my tía, and other neighbors that were, you know, Hispanos too, were in my neighborhood. So it was just kind of like what we had,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it was the environment, the culture that you're in. It's like you just become a product of that. And if you don't have, what I always say is you don't know what you don't know. And so you didn't know that there's other avenues or other things that you should be doing if your environment or the people around you were creating that for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what switched for you at 18? What helped you come to that realization?
So I had a couple of realizations. At 18, my parents' house was drive-by,
Really?
and it kind
Like
of
a drive-by shooting?
Yeah, drive-by shooting.
Wow.
And my dad came out, and I remember him saying like, look, what you're involved in. We're not involved in what you're doing, but we're gonna pay the price for what you're doing and involved in. And he turned around, went back in. I thought I was gonna get whooped.
Yeah.
Didn't. That's all he said. That was enough.
Yeah.
After that, you know, that really sunk down deep, and I was like, you know, he's right. He works hard. You know, both of my parents work hard. I'm here, you know, fooling around.
Wow. And that's a big wake up call, like for it to get there. And yeah, that's, was it scary for you? Like,
Yeah,
at that
it was
time?
super scary. Yeah, you know, and then a few months, maybe a couple 6 months prior to that, like I had just been released out of like a juvenile correction center, where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna do better, and then this, and then finally, I'm just like, you know what, it's enough talking about it, enough like saying that I'm gonna like, you know, find different influences.
Yeah.
So at one point, I'm just like, I'm done. I literally went through all my music. I'm like, I'm done with this. I went through all my clothes. I'm like, I'm done with this. I started growing my hair out.
Really?
Stopped shaving my head.
Yeah.
And after that, things just started looking brighter. Obviously, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you just put in the right spot, and you start getting luckier and luckier. Well, that's what they say, but.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the choices you're making that are creating that luck. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. What you focus on expands.
Yeah.
So you switch your focus to something that's a little bit more productive and
Doing positive things. You do more positives than negatives, and guess what? You see your progress at one point.
yeah. What did so once you had that transition? Well, first, how long were you in the correction facility?
It wasn't for a long time. This was a while back, so I think it was roughly about a month, the longest that I
Still
did.
being young and being in
Yeah.
there for a month. That's
As a juvenile, man, like that was enough.
yeah.
you know?
You're like, I don't want to be going back there and doing that.
Yeah.
What did you decide to focus on? Did you start working or?
So actually at 18, I you know, as when the switch came around, I had some good influences around me. And they actually started taking me to church.
Oh, really?
And doing more church activities. And I got a little more involved with my church. And I had left to Boise to finish my schooling, to get off probation. My officer told me, like, listen, if you can go to Boise and graduate from this program, we'll just release you from juvenile probation. We won't continue adult probation as long as you graduate from this. So I went, graduated, got that over with. I was successful. I ended up getting a year scholarship to BSU.
Really? What was the program?
It was, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a high school equivalency diploma.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was kind of the same. You took a government test, whatever.
Uh-huh.
But while I was over there, you know, my influences at that time, which was a girl, she, you know, I go to church with her, and I'm like, you know what? My mom's happy, you know, she's not worrying, you know, when I'm doing this stuff. So, at the same time, one of my friends, his name's Jared Moala, he's a Tongan missionary, and I liked him, you know, I liked how positive he was, and he's from Dallas, Texas, and I'm like, bro, how do I do what you do, man?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, let me set you up. Do this, do that, you know, and they'll figure it out for you. So anyways, I ended up doing a 2-year service in a different country.
Really?
For my church.
Where'd you go?
I went to Chile.
Okay.
And I knew that for me, it was an opportunity to get away, you know. And I knew that it was, I had actually tried getting into the Army before that, and I got denied. So I'm like, this is my opportunity to get away and do something positive.
And I love that because it was kind of like, did you just realize that you just needed a switch of environment?
Yeah.
You just need to change it up.
I needed to unplug, you know, from what I was doing and be gone and just have no other chance to do anything, you know.
Yeah.
But I needed that structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge for you to realize that and want to take that leap. Cause I mean, coming from your background to switching, you know, 180, going into this, you know, religious background in church and then going to serve a 2-year mission, like it's a big 180.
It was big.
Like, I think it's awesome. I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
How was your experience in Chile?
So my experience was awesome, you know. Well, you know, the general picture was awesome. Obviously, being gone for 2 years, dropping everything you ever known, being in a whole different country, learning basically how to live on your own. Like, obviously, that's hard
For sure.
you know. but having a person to like, they already kind of knows the ropes.
Yeah.
It's kind of teaching you how to do the ropes, and and doing all that, having the structure of like, I know what I'm doing Monday through Saturday, Sunday. I'm at church. It was good.
Yeah.
It was exactly what I needed.
What do you feel like your biggest like lesson or what you learned? What was the biggest thing you learned while out there?
One of the biggest things that I think I took from that was just serving people. Like that was cool. Like being out there and just leaving my wants and my needs behind and just being like, listen, man, like there's a better lifestyle out there. Trust me.
Yeah. And it's cool for you to have your experience that you could share with people out there.
Yeah. So it was easy to go up and talk to, there was like their version of cholos were called patos malos.
Okay.
They'd be on the corners drinking, bugging and stuff. So, it was easy to go up and talk to them and be like cool with them and getting to them, being like having them talk to you.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
That's cool because you brought a different perspective than probably most missionaries brought to the area, which is cool.
Yeah.
My uncle actually, he served in Chile, and that's where he actually met his wife.
Uh-huh.
So my aunt is Chilean and my cousins are all half Chilean. So they go back every so often. And I've seen pictures of it and stuff. Where were you at in Chile?
So I was in El Sur. It was called Osorno. And I was mainly in between the areas of like Temuco and like Osorno.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very indigenous area. Mm-hmm. A lot of, they call Mapuches. So yeah, that's
pretty rural. Was it like
I blended right in because they're dark people. I was dark.
I just thought I was one of them. That's cool. So what year? So you got back. What'd you do after your mission?
So that was 2000 to 2004, and so obviously my mindset had switched quite a bit at that point. I knew that I could do a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So it was just like a chain, a link to prior links,
Yeah.
I was starting to create this chain of like positive things.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, well, what's next? What can I do next? And because of my prior history, I knew I didn't really graduate high school. So I'm like, I think college is like completely out of the picture,
Yeah.
So it was actually in Chile where I was like, I think I can be a barber.
Really?
One of the guys that was out there, he gave me a clipper and I cut their hair throughout that time. That was one of the services I'd do. If we showed up to a place, they had long hair, I always carried the clipper in my backpack. Actually, I have a picture of that. But
really? That's awesome.
There was a Brazilian barber that cut my hair so nice. Like I was pelon, before that for years. And now as a missionary, I had to wear hair combed over, nice.
Yeah.
And I had nobody who would cut my hair nice. So I went to this Brazilian and he cut my hair nice. And I was like, I just felt something that I'd never felt before with my hair. Like
really,
like it was a game changer for me. Like I acted different. I walked different. So I'm like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I want to do. And when I came back, I knew that it was something that I wanted to do, but I didn't want to just do like a cosmetology school. Like I wanted a license that actually said you are a barber.
Yeah.
So obviously I didn't dig into it. I came home, started looking for work, and I was actually at job service. And there was a Hispano that had known me since I was little. And he's like, oh, Troy, welcome back, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? And he's like, I'm like, oh, I'm just looking for work. I'm back, And he's like, why are you just looking for work? Why don't you go to school?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what school's going to take me?
I didn't think that was an option.
So he's like, let me call some people up and I'm going to figure it out for you. Are you cool with going to BYU? I'm like, I'm cool with going wherever they'll take me. I'm like, I don't think you're going to get me in, but I'll try it.
Yeah.
So anyways, called the people up. I went and had a meeting and they reviewed my paperwork, my criminal history. And they're like, yeah, Troy, I don't think you're going to get into school, but I'm going to do everything that I can do to get you into school.
Wow.
So he's like, I want you to write an essay of why you think that this is a good choice of yours, and this is a good school for you to go. So I'm like, all right, I'll do. I did everything that he'd asked me to, and sure enough, a couple weeks later, I got a paper that said, you know, that paper that every high school kid waits for.
Yeah.
That says, yeah, you've been
Acceptance.
accepted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, I was really blown away that they were going to let me into college. And because of, again, you know, being involved with being a probationeer, I'm like, you know, I think I could do some good with probation. So that's the kind of career I wanted to have. You know, so I actually worked for Bonneville County misdemeanor probation for like 8 years.
Wow.
I did about 8 years of that. And in between, I got picked up by a company called Juvenile Help Options. So I worked with juveniles, inspiring them, you know, same thing.
Wow.
Did a little bit of drug court program, helped them out with that.
Is that tough?
I guess it was not, the work wasn't hard. The work was actually cool. I guess if anything, it was tough watching people go through
what they're going through.
Those things, you know?
Yeah. Because you want to help them, you know?
Yeah, you want
There's
to
only
help
so
them.
much you can do is, you know, being in that
you know,
role.
when they don't listen, I felt like, man, like now I understand, like when people would tell me, like, you should just listen, you know?
Yeah.
So
you did that. So you were dealing with like correctional and juveniles for like 8-10 years after college?
Yeah. So that started like 2005 to 2013.
Wow.
I worked for Bonneville County misdemeanor probation and juvenile help options.
Okay.
It was a community resource.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I ran a program through their junior high school.
Okay.
So I would literally go to every health class in Idaho Falls talking to kids. So a lot of Hispanos here, they know me because of that, you know.
Did you have like tattoos and you got them removed?
I did. Yeah.
Would you come in and talk to junior high like health classes?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you came in and talked to my class. I'm trying to think about it because I'm like, I remember a Troy.
Yeah.
They came in, yeah. I went to.
So if you remember the tattoos and the removal and all that stuff, like that's me.
100%. Yeah. I was because I went to Clary Gale Junior High, and so I remember you were the favorite. You're like the class's favorite person when Troy would come in and talk.
Yeah, that was me.
That's crazy. I never made that connection. That's cool because that work too that you're doing that's impactful work. I mean, going to talk to those junior highs and show them like, you know, that's
you know, I was there for everybody, but I was there for my people, man.
Yeah.
Like my Hispanic youngsters that I wanted to make an impression and inspire them, you know?
Yeah, we definitely did. I know for at least the kids in my class, you definitely did. So what made you transition from that?
So during that time, you know, and this is interesting how it worked out because I don't know why, but constantly in the back of my head, I'm like, hey, these kids are going to listen to me until I start looking and feeling old to them. And so I'm giving myself till about 30, 35 to where these kids are going to be like, this is, you know, some old dude, man. We're not trying to listen to him. Like, you know, so during that time, I'm like, all right, what can I do? And, you know, all that's happening during the recession. I had a 10-year contract with them.
Wow.
And the recession's happening. So that, you know, I'd get every once in a while, I'd be like, hey, Troy, like, you know, they might cut our funding for this. So, and, you know, it's kind of scary. And, you know, my wife stepped in a lot and she's like, she actually does hair too. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start a salon, you know? And so that way I can be with our kids and I can do that. And anyways, so that was around 2009-ish. And I'd go and do a little bit of summer sales also during the summer because my hours were basically a teacher's hours. You know? So in the summer, I was kind of left high and dry, you know?
Yeah.
So in about 2009, I'm like, hey, you know, I really got to do something. Like, you know, I got to really figure out what it is that I want to do. And just like everybody else, man, I remember thinking like, man, when am I going to get like to that spot where I feel like this is what I'm like supposed to be doing, you know?
Yeah.
I always felt like that, and I loved what I did, but I didn't feel
That's
like
fulfilled.
that. Yeah.
How much were you making doing the?
I was actually making pretty good money.
Oh, really?
You know, yeah. Yeah. For like 2008-ish, 2009-ish, like I was doing good, you know. I was doing all right.
Yeah.
You know? And then my wife opened the business in 2010, and literally like right after she opened it, you know, we were kind of struggling. It was a recession, and you know, during the summer, like I said, I was left high and dry. So I'd do construction, and I remember my my first summer doing the construction, like my first paycheck, I think for the 2 weeks was like close to $400,
Oh man.
and I think I was getting paid like $750 or $8 around there.
Yeah.
And I just remember looking at the check and being like, wow, like I can't even pay my house bill with this. Like,
Yeah.
I remember just being like, I gotta do something, like, or you know.
Do something a little
And
bigger.
you know, I had declined a probation position. Through that time, I just remember thinking a lot, like, man, there's gotta be something out there that I can do, like, and it's gonna fit me, you know. And so I pushed the probation aside. I did a little bit of summer sales. I did good right there, but I'm like, you know, I don't know if I can actually do that long term and
Yeah.
whatever. So one day, me and my wife, we'd go to Salt Lake to make a little bit extra money because she did permanent cosmetics.
Oh, okay.
And I remember we're driving around, and I see this sign of a barber school in Salt Lake, and I remember like not even saying anything, just turning around and go get the information on our way back from Salt Lake. I'm like, what do you think about me going to barber school? And my wife, like, just instantly, she's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So that was in the fall of 2010.
Okay.
2011, spring of 2011, I was in school.
Wow.
I was in barber school.
How long is barber school?
So it's supposed to be a 6-month program.
Okay.
It takes between 6 months and a year, depending on the type of person you are. At that point, time was money for me. So I was still doing my program here, and like I said, I had the schedule of a teacher. I had my summers off. So I talked to my boss and everybody and organized it so that I could end my classes, the classes I go to,
Yeah.
a little bit early, so I could go to barber school and start a little bit later so I could get my schooling done.
Yeah.
I talked to the barber school, and I'm like, listen, I got 4.5 months to do this. If you think that you can I can get through this program in 4.5 months, like, sign me up. I'll pay for it up front.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, let's do it. So I signed up, got through it. I started, I can't remember, like middle of May-ish, and ended middle of September.
That's quick.
Yeah.
Because don't you have to do like 900 hours?
Yeah, yeah. So
You just-
I'm not kidding you. Like, I did every extra thing that you could do.
Really?
Literally, like tutoring, you know, mentoring different barbers, and everything extra that I could do, I did it.
Yeah.
And I went to school from Monday through Saturday. I didn't skip a single minute that I could be there that counted for time.
Credits.
Yeah.
That's smart. Well, it just shows how dedicated you were to make that
Yeah.
situation better. So takes you roughly 4 months or so.
Yeah, 4.5 months.
And then did you start? So then your wife had already opened the shop, right?
Yeah, she
Okay.
had already. She started the business in April of 2010.
Okay. And did she call it Graffiti?
Yeah, it was actually called Grafitti Beauty Salon.
Okay. And so you got your license and you just started right with her?
Yeah, so in September 2011, I was licensed. So yeah, we worked in a little shop in Rexburg, but right next to a laundromat.
Really?
It was just me and her.
So just two chairs essentially?
Yeah, it was actually 3 chairs.
Okay.
Yeah, it was her, me, and then the other chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys didn't have anybody working the other chair. You just
There was a girl that worked a little bit there. I can't remember exactly what happened, but
Yeah.
it ended up just being me and my wife for the most part. Yeah.
So how long was it just you two working there?
Shoot, we're going back now. So
Yeah, we're taking it
making
back.
I want to guess my nephew has been cutting for I think about 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I brought him on board right after high school.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were getting backed up. We needed the help. Um, he needed something to do, so I'm like, hey, here's. I actually gifted him some clippers for his
Really?
graduation present. And I'm like, I'll show you how to use these. You can go to barber school, come and help me out. If you don't like it, use it as a stepping stool or a stepping stone for,
Whatever you
while
wanna
you go
do.
to college and find what you really want.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long because being a barber, it's like you're all commission based essentially. It's like,
Yeah.
there's no guarantee.
If you cut, you make money. If you don't cut, so it was tough.
yeah. That
The
first
cool
year-
thing was that I had a job.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
so I was still doing those.
You're still doing the
groups.
groups.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So from 2011 to like 2013. 2013 is when they terminated my contract because of the recession. That's
Got
when they had like, all right, Troy, like we cannot do it no more. Like, so the cool thing was that it just panned out for me.
Yeah.
Like I was prepared for whatever was to come. So I remember the call.
Yeah.
My boss is like, all right, Troy, this is it. Like, will be the last group. Unless you can take half of what you make and volunteer 100 hours a month. And I'm like, yeah, that's not doable.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can volunteer, but I can't volunteer that much. I can't remember if it was 100. I remember it was a lot of
Yeah.
hours. And I'm like, yeah, I don't mind doing a couple of classes on my end because I like doing it, but like financially, I can't support my family that way.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, well, if you can't do that, if you want, we can just end your contract here. And it ended at the perfect time because it was during the summer. My hours got cut anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, this is it then. Like I'm diving in
Full
head first.
force into barbering.
Yeah, head first. So I'd already spent from the fall of 2011 to summer of 2013, building up like a clientele, getting to know me. I was already getting busy.
Yeah.
So it was still kind of scary because I didn't really like take on it as a career.
Yeah.
So it was still a little bit scary, but it was by far the best decision financially that I've ever made.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's how long did it take you when you started to get your books full
Like how long did it take me
after
to
your full
like,
time?
Shoot, I would say that within that year of 2013, like it just kind of opened the gates to like, all right, Troy's schedule is open and this is what's available. And people just, start seeing the spots open. They knew like that I cut Monday through Saturday. And yeah, I would say that within that summer I was full.
You're pretty booked
It was,
up.
it was just a good, it was a good time to go full throttle with it,
Yeah.
because it's the summer, kids are out of school, their schedules are a little more open.
Yeah.
So, my morning to afternoon was always full because they could come.
Yeah. So was your plan when you started like getting into barbering full time? Did you want to build it up to what it is today, or
Honestly,
had you even thought about that?
my mind didn't think that big.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say how it is.
For sure. Yeah.
I was just happy to have a job that provided.
Yeah.
And as we continued to work hard, opportunities, just got put in front of us, and I think because we worked hard and when the opportunities were there, we just took them
Yeah.
as they came, and fortunately, it's worked out to the point we're at.
Yeah. I love that you said that, you worked hard and then the opportunities came, because a lot of people think that the opportunity is going to come and then they'll work hard. But it's
Yeah.
like, you got to put in that work beforehand and you don't know what's going to come of it. I can't tell you that by you working hard, you're going to get this opportunity, but I can tell you that you're definitely not going to get an opportunity if you're not going to working hard.
Yeah.
So you got to put in that work and then things are going to kind of fall into place. And that's where people often say, you got lucky or something, but it's like, they don't see all the work that went into it prior to you ever getting the chance to do whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
So you said at the beginning that the shop owns you. You don't own the shop. What did you mean by that?
Because the way I see it, like, you know, we have a beautiful shop, you know, that shop, you know, without me in there running it, like, it's like the shop's going to be its shop, but it needs me to run it. So I've never felt like I've owned the shop. I felt like the shop owns me. I've always felt like, you know, it's a place that gives me an opportunity to be able to provide for my family, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm owned by it because the shop's going to do its thing, you know, and if I don't do it, you know, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So it actually owns me. It owns us.
Does your wife still do hair there too?
Yeah. So I've been doing hair with my wife since 2011. She's she's actually very smart with what she does also.
Yeah.
And I would actually give her the credit for where the shop's at today.
Yeah.
She's guided it to where it's at.
Is she kind of the more, so me and my wife work together as well. And sometimes that dynamic can be tricky for people working with their spouse. Is she kind of the one that pushes growth, or are you the one that pushes growth?
Yeah, for sure. She definitely pushes growth.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm always the one that's rethinking stuff and telling her, do you really, you know, should we really do this? Like, I think, you know, I'm comfortable right here. Like, you know, we're doing all right, you know? And she's like, no, Troy, like, let's do this, you know? So when it comes down to making the solid decision, we definitely sit down and we definitely go over things, and it's definitely a mutual decision before it goes forward. But I would definitely say she's the aggressor when it comes to scale. Like, let's get into our own building. Let's, you know, put 13 chairs into a building, you know.
Let's expand and grow this thing. That's cool. Have you had any challenges working with your spouse? Has that been difficult for you guys at all?
I would have to say no. Like, I think it's done nothing but good for us, you know, working together.
Yeah.
You know, even when we have some rough edges at home, like, she understands and I understand that at work we have to be professional. Mm-hmm. So, you know, being professional at work, you have to be nice to each other, and that just kind of carried on to at home, you know.
Yep.
So it's been nothing but good for us, you know.
Yeah.
To keep us strong and keep us being nice to each other, and so you know, you act up a little bit at home, but at work, you know, like, I gotta, you know, be nice, you know. So
yeah, that's actually a good point. I never thought about that, but it's totally true. You're right. It's like if when you're at work and you're trying to build this company, it's like it's about the business, and you do have to be nice, and that usually carries out. Or if you had a little strifle beforehand, but you had a, you know, the rest of the day was great at work, then kind of carries back over to the home life. So that's actually an interesting insight. So how many people do you have working for you guys right now? What's your current operation look like?
So I'm gonna be honest, like, I'm bad with numbers.
Yeah.
There's 8 stylists, and the numbers constantly are changing. You know, Brandon's constantly training somebody. At the moment, all my chairs are full, but we do have somebody that's moving to Salt Lake, or Utah area. So roughly it's between 13. We have 3 receptionists. 2 of my kids actually work for us.
Really?
One of them does our lawn care.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and the other one actually receptions for us and
awesome.
Helps with the payroll stuff and that type of stuff.
Has that been fun as a parent, like tying your kids into the business?
Oh yeah, it's like the best thing that's ever happened. Like, it provides an opportunity for me to be able to teach them the stuff that now that I know. Now that I'm older and wiser, wish that I would have known when I was little, you know.
Yep.
You know, my kid is able to sell stickers there and make a little bit of money for himself, pay for his own shoes, you know. He's able to mow my lawn, and as a result, my neighbor has him mow his lawn and make a little bit of money, you know.
Yep.
I don't have to have him go get a job somewhere else. I can watch what he's doing. I can go to lunch with him. I can bring him home to lunch, you know.
Yeah.
So we have similar schedules. So I'm constantly with him.
That's cool. I love that. I think that's a really cool thing. Obviously, we just had our first born. She's only 11 months, but I think I'm excited for that in the future, to have a business that we can bring her into. And I feel like you're able to teach your kids when you're running a business, like some valuable life lessons. Cause you don't learn a lot of this stuff until you're actually in the field running the business, like your payroll and your QuickBooks and your taxes and all this stuff. And it's like, now you can carry that over, and like you said, teach them stuff.
And believe it or not, like our kids I feel like they're smarter than I am when it comes to technology now.
Oh,
like, Like if I have a hiccup with something, or my wife does, like we go to them.
Yeah.
How do we do this?
That's awesome. How old are your kids?
So I have a set of twins that are 16.
Okay.
A boy and a girl, Elia and Jada. And Elia actually would do our lawn care. And Isaiah, he's 13 years old. He's turning 13 here in a couple months. And he's now the one that does our lawn care. He's always swept for us.
That's awesome.
In the summer, if you show up, he's there sweeping hair.
It's cool.
Not lately, he's been actually like checking people in, making sure that everybody's been taken care of.
Yeah.
Making sure that everybody has an appointment, directing them to who's their service provider.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It's cool because it teaches them like I said, good, valuable life lessons, how to work hard. And then also like customer service, being in your field, they've got to learn customer service, which that's such a valuable tool nowadays.
Yeah.
Most people don't know how to talk to people.
Yeah. You can literally call right now and he'll probably answer. And
really?
you. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. So, and you still cut too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I love cutting hair. And that's the thing. Like, when people say that, Troy, you're a business owner, I'm like, actually, I'm not that much of a business owner. I like cutting hair.
Yeah.
I'm more of what like my parents are, I'm a laborer.
Yeah.
And I like working and I like serving people. And as a result, it's built a business.
Yeah. And it starts with you. It's hard for a lot of business owners to understand too, because you're right. The business does own you right now. And that could change in the future, if you get the right people in place, if you want it to. But that's something for people that want to start their own business. It's like, yes, you're going to own the business, but for a long time, the business is going to own you because the business is going to operate unless you're operating, especially the first 10 years or so, because you're not going to have the funds to put people in those places. Yeah. So you're going to have to do a lot of the things. You're going to have to wear a lot of hats. It's good because you're going to learn a lot.
Exactly.
But the business is dependent on you being there and you making sure it runs.
Yep.
Right. So do you guys have a manager at all, or is it just you and the wife running everything?
Yeah. So my wife handles majority of that.
Yeah.
We've if you've ever been into my shop, it is separated by a glass wall.
Uh-huh.
So one side is like a barber shop. You really get the barber feel.
Yeah.
The other side is you get a real solid, salon feel.
Yeah.
But you can see on both sides what's going on.
Yeah.
So basically I've taken on the role of, training my guys, making sure, that they're feeling good, making sure that we're all learning new techniques, we're getting different opportunities in, and she does the same thing for hers on top of also running the business, like the numbers and like hiring a manager and that type of stuff.
Really?
That dynamic with a manager kind of changes here and there. We live in an area where people come and go every, 4 months to 4 years.
Yep.
They're constantly moving. So, that's been, I would say, like one of the struggles, finding somebody that's long-term and, willing to make a career out of it.
Yep.
But yeah, we have a manager that takes care of the daily operations.
Okay.
So that we can focus on our clientele.
Focus on what you're doing, which is cool. And that is, I feel like that is the hardest part with running a business is hiring people and hiring the right people and then keeping the people that you hire. It's like retention is so hard and especially in your area where college kids are coming in and
they're coming
and leaving
and going and getting trained here, and then they go to a bigger city or or back to their hometowns.
Yeah, that's hard. So you've got your cousin, or is it your nephew that's been with you the longest?
Yeah, my nephew.
Okay, and
so he's been in there for 9 years.
That's incredible. That's awesome. Yeah. It's cool that you're able to provide that for him too. Like, what a cool opportunity. Do you guys plan to expand at all? Do you want to only be in Rexburg? What's kind of your vision for the future?
I don't know if my wife would think the same, but I think my expansion is going more into real estate now.
Oh yeah.
I've been able to invest a little bit into real estate.
Okay.
We own the shop
Commercial building.
that we operate in.
Okay.
For some reason, growing up, I liked real estate too. I
Yeah.
don't know. I just saw them driving Cadillacs and
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool, you know.
Yeah.
So we've been able to invest a little bit of our funds into real estate.
Yeah.
And have some rentals and.
How many rentals do you guys have?
So at one point I had two, but I saw it was a duplex, and I actually owned it with my brother, but we sold that, and we've kind of moved into different properties. We made that a rental, and then move in, and we got another the property we live in and stuff like that. My wife thinks that we should have a total of 5 short-term and long-term kind of things.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah. What's your do you have like a kind of a goal that you want to get to with your real estate?
Honestly, like I don't have a specific number.
Yeah.
I just know that it would be smart to have long-term and short-term rentals.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't have a specific number as far as the amount of real estate that I want to have. I don't have a certain number of the amount of money that I want to be making.
Cash flow or anything.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of happy with it building itself authentically, you know, as it comes, as the opportunities show up. If we can do it, cool. If we can't, you know, cool, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Are you most of the stuff you guys buying in Rexburg? Are you staying in that area?
Yeah. Most of the stuff we buy in Rexburg. We've looked at stuff at other places. I want a place in somewhere where it's warm, so I can spend my my winters.
Yeah.
So I've looked at. I recently was able to be in the Dominican Republic. So
really?
I checked out a condo there, and it was really nice, and it's maybe later on.
Yeah.
Something that I can do.
That's our goal. Is my wife hates the winters here, so my parents have bought a few properties in Arizona, and that's kind of where they escape to in the winters.
Yeah.
And so that's on our goal list, is to have a property there that we can.
I would say that's on my goal list.
Yeah.
Arizona would be an easy one because of where we live in. It's there's flights that go there.
Direct. Yep.
It's more on the inexpensive side to fly there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something about me that they're like, that's just kind of basic, to get something in Arizona. Like, let's go big. Let's go international. Let's
go Dominican Republic.
It can be done.
It can. Yeah. Absolutely. I've never even thought about buying internationally.
I play with the thought a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it. I do have some business partners that have bought in like the Cancun and like Puerto Vallarta area in Mexico. One hot place right now too is Panama. Like Panama and those places are kind of all growing.
Costa Rica.
Yeah, Costa Rica. I do know somebody that owns a property in Costa Rica. So that's cool. You have to you have to let me know if you ever do look at properties there.
Sure. I think I just moved into a new house right now. We're getting it all finished up.
New construction
the top was built. We're building out the basement and the landscaping, and so we're finishing up that right now. I think once we get wrapped up with that project, and we can start thinking about a location where it's warmer,
where you want to go.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, with real estate, a lot of people, when they're building a portfolio, and the reason I asked is if you had a number was like a cash flow number. A lot of people use real estate as a vehicle to kind of step away from whatever they're doing, So, and a lot of the times it's like, hey, if I can make $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month in rental income.
Yeah, and I think the end result is that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to maybe right now I'm just playing with the number 50, 55.
Yeah.
To be able to step away from what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And be able to just put on autopilot with real estate funds,
Yeah.
But yeah, that the end result of building real estate is to be able to
take a step away from barbering.
Yeah. In roughly 10 years.
Yeah.
15 years,
With barbering, like exit there, I mean, can you sell the barber shop? Is that like a thing or does that happen very often?
Shoot, like, yeah. You can sell anything, right?
It's true. Yeah.
Sell the shoes off my feet right now.
Yeah. I didn't know if you guys had like maybe like an exit strategy that you're shooting for. Or you guys just still kind of chugging along?
It's definitely something that we're playing around with. I think it's a good time to start planning for it.
Yeah.
Have 5-year plans and 10-year plans.
Yeah.
10 years goes by pretty quick. We've realized the last 10 years,
Yeah.
So I think it's a good idea to start at least thinking about it and seeing, learning how to do it.
Yeah.
Selling a business obviously is not like selling penny candy at a store, at a convenience store. So you really have to figure stuff out. And luckily I have a good wife that knows is learning, a quick learner with that type of stuff. I think I just look at the numbers and if it feels good, I'm like, yeah, let's do it,
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And because when you're selling a business, typically you want like a year or two to build up to that anyway, just to like clean up the books on how you want it to look. Because a lot of times when people are looking at business, they're just looking at what's the profitability of this business, and so you want to make sure you're running like slim margins if you do gear up for a sell. But looking back, like 5-10 years ago when you started, did you think you'd be here?
Shoot, I didn't. Like, the honest truth is, like I said, I think I'm a day-to-day person. Like, so on this type of stuff, like, obviously I think in the back of my mind, you always like hope for something cool to happen, and, but like, am I constantly focused on like, in 5 years, I'm going to be at this place or that place, no. Like I said, just luckily living day to day and working hard, putting effort into it and putting your best effort in, it's, as a result, it's been able to get to where we're at. So yeah, 5 years ago, I would have never guessed, like, I live on a golf course,
Yeah. It's cool.
And, I would have never imagined that.
Yeah. And probably even the younger Troy, 16, 17, probably would have never thought this would be the path that you ended up going down.
Yeah.
So that's cool. What's any of like big lessons that you've learned over the last few years running your business that you want to share with the audience?
Shoot, too many. I guess recently one of the biggest things I've learned is that it's important to know where you're from. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't know where you're from, you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
Okay, so just kind of thinking of, where I came from, I came from parents that saw something bigger for us. Mm-hmm. So that helps me a lot to really push myself and really, try to do something that not only myself, but my parents, the people I associate with, can be proud of and be inspired from.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's just something recently that's been kind of floating in my head. So.
Yeah.
So know where you're from, so that you know where you want to end up.
Yeah. I love that. No, I love that. You can't. A lot of people get hard on themselves, because they're not where they think they should be right now. But sometimes just reflecting on where you came from, it's like maybe you could look and say, "Oh, I wish the shop was this big," but you could also look back and say, "Look at what we've done in the last 10 years."
Yeah, it's like amazing.
Yeah, you gotta be proud of yourself. So I think it's important to remember where you came from and remember the journey that you've already been through, so it can keep you motivated to keep pushing. Because some people can really be down on themselves. Any big business lessons that you've learned? What was the biggest struggle you dealt with kind of growing the shop?
I don't know if necessarily it's like struggles, but some of the biggest lessons that I've learned is to be a risk taker. Like, I think people have a good idea if it's gonna be a good risk to take or not. Like, obviously, if I don't have a dime to my name and somebody's offering me an opportunity, like, I don't have a dime to my name, so obviously it's not the best choice.
Yeah.
But if you've worked hard, if you've been able to save up a little bit and there happens to be an opportunity and you just got to push a little bit more to like push you over the edge to make that deal happen, go for it.
Yeah.
Like, don't let your fear control that. Like, go for it. Because more than likely, like, especially in real estate, like, I think the chances are high that it's gonna work.
Yeah, it's got a pretty good track record over the last few hundred years.
Yeah,
so
that's one of the things I've learned from the opportunities with real estate that I've taken. Like, they've been good.
Yeah, and pay off. And a lot of people just overanalyze a lot of things, and they're scared to take risks. But if you want the bigger, you got to be able to take the risks if you want the bigger payouts.
Yeah,
and so. Like you said, don't be afraid to take risks. Like, obviously be smart with it. Make sure you're in a good position.
Be smart. Like, that's all it is. Be smart, educate yourself.
Yeah.
So don't just get into something because, somebody said that it was a good idea, learn a little bit, read a little bit, ask questions. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to share their information, that have already been there, done it. So, I have a little panel of people that are successful people in the area that, if something happens or if an opportunity comes up, hey man, what do you think about this? Oh yeah, they give me their opinions and you can kind of take vibe off of that and see, like, so.
Yeah. I think it's important to have that panel or that network that you kind of said to be able to bounce ideas off of people that you trust, people that don't have any kind of like ulterior motives for you, but people that you can just run things by. I have, several different mentors or coaches that I always run stuff by. If it's, hey, what are your thoughts on, I have this thought of doing this. What do you think? What am I missing here? And so don't feel like you got to do this alone. Exactly. Don't feel like you have to make the decisions alone. Surround yourself with people that can help, So I like that you mentioned that. Well, where can people find you? Are you on social media?
I'm on social media as Troy el Peluquero, spelled with a K, not Q-U. Or you can find us at Grafitti Beauty and Barber.
Cool.
Same thing on Instagram. We're on Main Street in Rexburg, across from Broham, so it's really easy to see us.
Sweet.
So,
do you guys take walk-ins? Or is it appointment only?
So if we can, we don't say no to anybody. We're there to cut hair, not to hang out and wait to cut hair.
Yeah.
So if there's an opening, for sure.
Sweet.
Make sure we can take care of you.
Sweet. Do you have a website?
We do. It's new. It's on the Squire app. So I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't messed around with it too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely have a website. I have a link on my Instagram. You can follow it. Like, it'll show you how to book. If you want to run through the website, you can.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool.
I heard it's really cool. I haven't even.
He's like, I haven't checked it out. He's like, I don't need to book my appointments. Like, so it does that for me. Well, if you guys want to connect with Troy, definitely go check out his shop in Rexburg, Idaho. Visit his Instagram, book an appointment. They do phenomenal haircuts. They're one of the top barbershops here in the state. So definitely check them out. Any last words, Troy?
I just appreciate what you're doing. Like, just even walking in here, I've been inspired. So.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy man. So, okay, till next time, we'll catch you guys later.
Don't listen to people who lose or you'll do the same. Stop talking to people who don't give a what you saying. Stop spending your money on weed, go hop on a plane. Stop pointing the finger and start taking some of the blame. Let me put you on game. Control your emotions, most of the time it's really not worth it. Don't be ashamed and beat yourself up for not being perfect.